everybody, to 42, Two Souls, One Journey, a raw and unedited look into our lives as humans based on the 21 grams experiment by Duncan MacDougall, who concluded that the human soul weighs 21 grams. In this podcast, we're going to explore that no matter what we look like on paper, our souls journey similarly. In this episode, we're speaking to, well, you may remember him from episode 9, the kind, the creative, the ever-evolving, the lover of yellow, the fashion foodie, Maddox Lu. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks so much for having me again.
I love a costume change.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. I mean, so, Maddox and I were speaking about our podcast, and in typical Maddox style, he's like, okay, why don't we get creative and try about things? And I was like, oh my God, yeah, let's do it. I haven't had a chance to go back to my podcast and read them and look at them to change them up. But I was like, great, if we're entering 2021, this is a great way to end 2020 and just like throw in some creative energy, shake this podcast up, and let's just see, like, that was the purpose of this anyway. So let's see what happens, right? So I think, in the first podcast, we're focusing on who Maddox was and things about Maddox. And this one, I think we're going to focus on the creativity part of it, right?
Let's get experimental. Let's do it.
So, I feel like 2020.
What year are we in? Right.
Are we still in March? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
2020 was such a tough year for people, right? Like, it was, the pandemic just threw people off schedule for everything. Yeah. How did you keep yourself together during 2020?
I was very fortunate. I was definitely one of the very fortunate people. I had friends that I connected with constantly who were open to connecting, because I also know that everybody dealt with 2020 differently, and not everyone's down to text and FaceTime and house party and all that, right? So I'm very lucky that all my friends were cool to connect that way and stay connected that way. My family, same thing. We texted, we talked a lot. So I was very fortunate in that sense, and I still had my job the whole time, thank goodness. I was very fortunate to be busy and occupied and still be connected. The struggle that I really have, if we can even call it that, is I wasn't able to eat in restaurants as often as I enjoy. So honestly, I had a stellar year. It was fine.
Where does your creativity come from? Like, tell me where your creativity comes from.
It comes from everywhere, every day, everything. Like, I get inspiration how to dress from looking out my window to check out the weather. I don't mean as simple as like, is it raining? Should I get the raincoat? It's more like, oh my God, I can see the clouds and the texture reminds me of this, and it's probably going to look like this all day. How will I want to look like against the world as my backdrop because of this? Or where am I going today for work? And those surroundings, will I be comfortable in that surrounding? Will I look good in that surrounding? Is it functional? Will I stand out? Like, what is my intention? That's just merely how I dress, but also like what I crave, what I want to eat. Speaking of, I have my snacks. Did you bring snacks? Basic bitch right here. Ketchup chips.
I'm all about the popcorn.
Hard fresh, love it. Let me just dunk them up. But yeah, I pull inspiration from everything all around me all day long. Whether it's surroundings, whether it's weather, whether it's nature, whether it's people, conversations, everything. Everything kind of inspires me. So, and I was apparently inspired to have some San Pellegrino.
Oh. I got the cheaper version of what you're drinking. I got watermelon sparkling water from PC.
Watermelon, good choice.
Well, we had pomegranate, and my roommate finished it.
Actually, I'm going to mix in some of my all-time favorite yuzu. I was inspired to have some of this today. So I usually drink this yuzu when I go to Miku, which is my all-time favorite sushi restaurant in Toronto and Vancouver. And when the lockdown happened, they also sold their alcohol. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll take one of those, thank you.
They have a really cute place on Front Street that does like
yeah.
seared sushi.
Yeah, my bougie sushi. Honestly, when they came to Toronto, they brought that style of oshi sushi. Oshi sushi meaning like the torched. They brought that to the city because before they came, nobody was doing it. The minute they came, every restaurant was offering it, and it doesn't even come close. Like it can't be touched. Cheers, by the way.
Yeah, cheers.
Clink.
So good. You had one of your birthdays at at that restaurant, yes? The what was
Yeah,
the
I
theme?
had my birthday there the one year that you were there with your bedazzled, crystalled bow tie. Iconic.
I love nice to just get dressed up. So when you had a birthday, I was like, bitch, I got clothes to wear. And was it, were you wearing a crown? That you always wear a crown on your birthday. Or was
Yes,
that
because that year's theme was the Who Run.
mm,
Who Run, taken from Beyonce's song Who Run the World, because it was a celebration of what do you run? What do you own? Like, what's yours? What's within your grasp, you know? Like, to celebrate all the gains and the success of all my friends.
that was a great. I think that was also the first year we reconnected after a while, and we Velvet Bag had happened, and you were so grateful and gracious about sharing your information about handbags and your input into the fashion world that I never had. I mean, I think I liked fashion,
Yeah,
but I wasn't as
you
into.
did.
Yeah, it was really great. Hopefully, when the pandemic ends, this business can come back.
I mean, I think it'll still be a while, but yes, when it's over, we need to resume life.
Hmm.
I mean, let me say that again, because we don't need to resume life. Life hasn't stopped. It's just that there are certain things I know I would like to be able to do again, like dining in a restaurant comfortably
Right.
or going to a theater comfortably and all that.
I mean, so those are some of your favorite things to do, like movie watching and food eating. So, how have you been doing it during the pandemic? Like, what have you been doing differently?
I've just been like, la 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 la, they don't exist. You don't need them. You're fine. Your living room's fine. Movies, your living room's fine. Dining, your living room's fine. It's okay. I'm just lying to myself and I'm drinking.
Also, like Maddox's partner, Aaron, is an incredible cook. Like, you guys,
Okay,
like,
let's set up an expectation
I
first.
know.
Yes, he is.
Yes,
Yes, he is. Yes, and he is incredible, but he does not cook for me, my dear. Has he cooked for me? Yes, he has. But if you think dating someone who's an excellent cook means coming home to fabulous meals 7 days a week, you are sadly mistaken.
I used to date a chef. I know coming home, that is like the last thing they want to do is get into a kitchen when they're at home.
That's exactly it. They
I
don't
get
want to
it.
be doing that all
No.
day. Like, no.
But when he does cook, he
It's
cooks
magical.
magical. And you creative direct the Instagram photos of it. So it looks
He
amazing.
knows how he can literally make anything as
Right.
long as it's provided that you can do it with what a condo comes with. But he truly can make any dish a reality, no matter what the craziest thing is that I dream up. My job is to then make it look sexy and enticing in a photograph. So we kind of
Ooh.
partner that way. I dream up crazy challenges. He actually makes it real, a
Right.
reality, and I make it look pretty.
You make it look very pretty. I feel like you nail it every time. Because every time you take a photograph of food that fits, I'm like, give me some of this.
Shameless plug right there. Food that fits with a Z
Yeah.
at the end. Food
Yeah. I mean, it'll be tagged somewhere. So don't we worry about it. Um, so I think one of the misconceptions for creatives is that you just have so much of it, you just give it away. Like it's just unlimited availability, which is not actually true. I think as a creative, you know that. How do you protect your creativity?
I don't feel like I need to protect my creativity. And in fact, I feel like I don't give it enough,
Ooh.
especially as of late, as I get older. Um, and it's not a sad thing. This is not a sob story. It's just that I feel like they when I was younger, I felt invincible and I felt like, what are you doing?
Oh, so one of the things so for the audience, we're doing it
I'm
like
like, are you writing this down?
no, I'm not. So one of the things that I wanted to try as one of my creative things for the podcast is to Karl Lagerfeld used to do this, is sketch as he talked. So he would sketch the person in front of him as he talked. So I'm sketching you as we're talking, as it was.
Draw me like one of your French girls. Let me put a chip on my chest.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Sorry, I didn't actually. I just got a plan, so I'm doing it.
I'm like, what's he doing? I mean, but then again, why would I care if you were writing it down? It's all going on this podcast. So, what were we talking about?
Food that fits, cooking,
yes.
yeah.
Creativity. I don't feel like I share enough because the older that I get and the more my career develops, I feel like there's less and less time to be the kind of creative that I used to be. I'm still creative and I'm still challenged, but it's a whole other realm now. It's not boring creativity, it's just a different type of creativity.
Okay.
So the way I would used to like change my hair color every month and wear, crazy outfits that really would like be traffic stopping just to cause a ruckus, and it could be very experimental in this and that. And all of that is kind of gone. I don't spend as much time playing, creating makeup looks just for the heck of it. And I loved that stuff. I loved sewing. I loved making my clothes, so I don't have time for that stuff anymore. Or one could say, you don't make the time for that stuff. We'll see. I'll check in with the Oracle when I go in the Matrix. But I do feel like a lot of that is pushed to the sidelines, where now my creativity is being drawn to other things, more just different. Yeah, so I don't feel like I give enough of that stuff that I put in storage boxes because it's all being sucked up here.
I don't so, last year you had I feel like when you have a project in mind, so I think about when you were doing the drag stuff for your friends, like when you, when you did the Buddies drag show with your friend for a fundraiser, you had started processing this, you're like, it's gonna happen in April, but in January, you're already costume, hair, makeup, you had already started ready to go and how you want this look to look like.
Isn't that what every homo is like with any outfit? It's like,
no.
Tuesday's gonna come again next week. What am I gonna wear then? Yeah, I do take my outfits very seriously, especially when they're events like birthdays, celebrations, or this incredible event that my friend put together. My friend Ryan Kerr, he's a friend of mine since grade 7. And he is hands down one of the best event host, organizer, conceptual, from start to finish events and theme days and whatever, that he's your guy. He's amazing. And he put together this event called Lady 5 in the Hole. And it really started out as just, I could be wrong, Ryan, don't come for me, but initially it was just supposed to be a couple of his friends, his circle, me included, coming together just to do amateur drag night at his place. So we would all just show up in drag and hang out and maybe do a few lip syncs or whatever. It literally went from that, fast forward to a few years later now, it's an event. The most recent one, Suns 2020, happened in 2019, and it happened at Buddy's, the nightclub, and there were ticket sales. It was a legit big thing, and all the proceeds went to Rainbow Railroad and another organization, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a charity event, it's a fundraiser, and it encourages positivity, inclusivity. It's just meant to be fun. So anybody who wanted to get up on stage in drag to just perform for a moment was able to. Anybody could go up there and perform just to have their moment. I thought it was a beautiful thing to give someone a platform to experience and express, but it was also doing good, in the back end. And how it blew up and how it grew is no surprise to me. It's amazing, but it's no surprise because anything that Ryan creates or has his hands in is generally gold.
We'll make sure to give a shout out to Ryan into the box somewhere. And also Rainbow Railroad is amazing. They do some really great work in bringing queers from different parts of the world that are getting prosecuted and getting them homes here. And so they do beautiful work. So amazing. This shit is really hard. There's no way I can focus.
I know.
on
Look at what you're
drawing.
working with.
No, like perfection. And I'm like, and you're talking, I'm so excited to talk about it. And I'm like, what am I sketching? So I'm going to put this aside because that failed.
Oh, okay. Did you want to try again?
If you can freeze like that for the next half hour and not move.
So for the next 32 minutes, I'll just be talking about this.
I mean, shout out to Karl Lagerfeld in heaven. Like, I don't know how you did it, but maybe it's something I will take forward to next year and practice. But it was really tough to do. So, and I think he's a genius. So,
I mean, he is. There's only one.
yeah. I mean, for somebody who branded Chanel and did so many great things like Fendi, Chanel, like
He's just iconic. Everything he ever created conceptually was just beyond this world. It's so ahead of his time, its time, our time. Beautiful, just incredible concepts.
Well, speaking of creating gold, he did a great job with it. Consistently in all creative forms of his. 3 things you did during the pandemic to keep your creativity alive.
During the 7 months of lockdown when we had no choice but to sit in our home, and some of us were able to work from home, luckily, I did take that chance to sort of pick up those makeup brushes again, dig up my old palettes, and like I forced my body paints. I forced myself to really like sit down in front of the mirror and go, all right, it's time to knock on that door and see if he's still in there.
Ooh.
And take that pressure away. I think when we do something for leisure as an adult, because we're so jaded, we're so conditioned, we've got such a specific mindset in how we tackle things, we don't allow ourselves to just experience and enjoy, even if it's a flop or a catastrophe or it's not pretty or it's not flawless. We need to just be okay with that, so I forced myself to sit down and just create for the sake of creating. I wasn't going to judge myself. I wasn't going to critique how symmetrical and flawless, and it wasn't about technique. It was just put some shit on your face and just enjoy it. Remember when you experimented? Yeah.
That's actually really nice. I think we're so stuck, and me as well, stuck in this idea that it needs to be perfection is such a goal that we think we have to aim for, that we forget to just have fun. Said the guy who put his sketch aside because it wasn't perfect. So
maybe you should keep going.
I mean, maybe I will. Maybe actually, I will. Let's see how this works
Maybe
out.
you should just keep going for the remainder of this recording.
Right. I mean, the goal was to try something new, so I'm not going to give up. I'm going to just keep doing it, and we'll.
There you go.
Share with the world.
let the pen lead you. Don't lead the pen. Let the pen lead you.
You know what? Actually, I love that, because did you ever do that exercise in school where you look at the person in front of you and you're sketching without lifting the pen off the, like, you don't look down and you don't look at, like,
blind drawing.
Blind drawing. Is that what it's called? Okay. Well, let's turn this into blind drawing, because then I can get away with it.
We used to have to do that for life drawing classes.
Yeah.
Well, not that it was intentionally like, don't look at your paper, but that was the exercise. When you were doing life drawing, there would be 5-minute poses, 1-hour poses, but there were also 10-second poses.
Right.
So you can't look down. You have to just trust that your hand will move according to what your eye sees. And I feel like, in a way, so like the best way I can relate blind drawing is to how, like, a traditional way Indian people eat their food with their hands. Oh, so it's about being in touch with your senses. It's about, because when you eat with your hands, you're more aware of how much you're putting in your body. When you eat with your hands, you're able to sense the food better, and you're awakening different things and you're using different things, and it helps in so many different forms. More so, like, go down that rabbit hole, Google it. It's really interesting. But that's how blind life drawing to me would be. You really have to force your hand to move with your eyes and look at your subject. It's not about designing it the way you think it looks good on paper, because that's what will happen the minute you look down. You want it to look pretty on the paper. Right. It shouldn't have to,
Perfect. Well, I'm going to continue this in blind drawing fashion. And take a chance and share with the world at the end, and we'll just.
Yeah.
It's the creative growth, right? It's the idea.
Exactly. How did you stay creative during the pandemic?
I mean, the first half I did a lot of drugs. And then
Hey,
this,
you do what you gotta do.
yeah, I feel like I'm so lucky that I had such great friends and family members who were like, great, like this is how you just survive. You're still a good person. We love you, and just do it. And the second half, I left and went to Winnipeg, and I feel like I needed a shake of energy. Like my energy was so stuck in Toronto. There was so many things that I mean, I've mentioned this before the podcast. Like I lost a grandmother. We lost two major matriarchs in our family, and it was the first time experiencing loss. Like we personal loss, and then we had the pandemic loss. So my creativity was stunned. It was just like I can't move. I'm immobilized. I can't do anything. And then moving to Winnipeg, just shaking up the energy, I think was really important for me. And the moment that happened, it's been so great here. I've been able to again create this podcast, do lots of circle sketches, try new things.
I've seen some of those graphic illustrations you've been posting on your Instagram, and I love them. You started those once you moved to Winnipeg, right?
Yeah, so it's a concept. So it's funny, that's drawing a face with circles was something I learned in high school art class. And so my art teacher, who I'm still friends with, Sharon Forrest, who would teach us that drawing someone's face is all about circles. And that's how I paint my makeup when I do drag. It's about this is a circle, here's a light, everything is circle based. And I remember when I first moved here from Africa, I remember somebody being like, oh, circle, circle, dot, dot, now you have a packy shot. And I remember so it's such an interesting thing when you come from Canada, when you're in Africa where there's so many people, nobody calls you a packy back then. And some of those terminologies like packy, gay, didn't exist where I came from. So when I came here, I was like, what's this person saying? And then to realize that they were being a complete asshole about it. And if you're an immigrant, you have a fob shot. You have a shot on a tetanus shot from Africa. That's a scar on your hand. And then the packy dot was always an interesting thing for me because it's your third eye. It's it's evoking your third eye. It's bringing that into the world. And for someone to make fun of it because of their ignorance was such a I clearly remember it being one of the hits for me as a kid. But I was like, here's something that's so beautiful that I've learned is so beautiful that you're now being a jerk about.
Talking, yeah.
Yeah, and so bringing it back was such a liberation. So it's always been a concept in my head that I've been wanting to do or put out there.
Love that.
Winnipeg shaked it up. And I was like, great, I'm just going to put it out there, just do it. And I was just steamrolled into a way for me to keep being creative and pushing forward with it. So, yeah.
That's amazing.
I think just take a chance.
So take that, stupid classmate.
Who was that motherfucker as well? I wish I knew.
Doesn't even matter. Whatever.
It doesn't, because, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And sometimes it's those people that we owe thanks to.
Oh, look at how you bring it around.
Yeah. Choosing love.
That's such a great, fully. Have you? So, I mean, you've already experienced. You already told us in your last episode about how you're great at taking lemon and making lemonade out of them, situations that you sit there and you process them and you're like, great, this is not working for me. Is something you've always had? Is this something you've always done as a kid? Okay.
No, definitely not. As a kid, if things didn't work out, I just kicked and screamed and had a meltdown. I was very temperamental. I definitely still am. I think it came from, I've had many wake-up calls, and I feel like the one that I most, that I grew from the most was one that happened in my career. I had a moment where, without getting into specifics, but there was a moment when I had to make a choice. And, the choices were learn from your mistakes, salvage what you can, leave your ego at the door, and learn from this. Move on. Get Trinity, get up. So it was either that, or it was dwell on it, get angry, be hateful, and continue on a path of righteousness and to prove the world that you are right, that you shouldn't have to back down, so luckily I chose this route because, sometimes you got to wake up and you got to know that your own shit stinks. and you gotta just go, if one person's telling you something, that's one thing, but if multiple people are telling you the same thing, or if you keep finding yourself in the same situation, or if you get, it's not the world, it's not them, it's you. Like, you better change something, because you're walking in circles,
So I mean, you come from a world of fashion and beauty, and for most people, it's such a fake world, right? Like from an outside perspective, you're like, oh, that is the. I mean, in fashion, you create the unattainable almost, or you create. I'll take that back. You don't create. You create art. For me, you create art, and for a basic bitch, that's unattainable, and people fight for that. I shouldn't take that back. It's not like for someone who doesn't understand, you're not a basic bitch.
Yeah,
You
for
just
someone who doesn't understand it.
understand,
Yeah.
right? And I think for me, I think the gift of art and if creativity is available for everybody once you choose it. Um, to live in that world from the age of 10, 14, like, so from your Mac days, so let's just say for a couple of decades, how do you keep yourself grounded in situations like that?
I don't know if I'm grounded. I wouldn't. I don't think I should. Yeah, I would not classify myself as grounded. I think I'm still up in the clouds most of the time. I'm in my own alternate reality. I think that what what keeps giving me the wake up calls that I need from time to time to snap out of my little fantasy universe of like, I can achieve this, or I should go for it this way, or why can't I say that? Why can't I wear that? It's all the people that I surround myself with. So, back to something that we talked about in the last episode that we did together is you surround yourself with things that you know you need and things that you want. And that's not just successful people, or like if you think you surround yourself with rich people, you'll become rich. Like, I don't know, go, you do you, boo. But I know me, I like, especially during the pandemic, I've really learned to listen to myself more and to understand my own needs. So I know when I'm bullshitting myself. I know when I'm lying. I know when I'm boasting. I know when I'm, a fraud. And I also know when I'm vulnerable and really need help. Or I also know when I'm going to be courageous and I'm just going to do this with blind faith that I will come through the other end. I know all those nuances and I know all those triggers and emotions better now.
Right.
And so I know what to surround myself with to check myself. Like if I know I'm forgetful, I'm going to get a notebook and I'm going to write shit down. If I know that I'm always late to things, I know I'm going to leave early. Just like I know if I'm going to get too fantastical and a little too out there, I need people that are a little more practical that will ground me or bring me back down to earth or question my choices and not just yes people around me, So it's about knowing yourself.
I feel like, so one of the things that I, in my addiction journey came through was like, when you're shitting yourself. Like there's like, we always know when we're lying, we're not being true to ourselves, even if you don't maybe consciously, like something in your body will tell you that you're not there, but your ego is so overpowering. Not yours specifically, but our ego as people are so overpowering that your ego's like, great, I'm just gonna bullshit and get away with it. You never get away with it.
You can't outrun your own lying.
No, at some point it catches up with you hard. So having said that, like, and everybody sort of, everybody has to journey their own way into that thing. Like you have to like, one of the things that I always think is that you have to fall to be able to pick yourself up. Unfortunately, I feel like that's the only option out there for us.
So I have a thought about that. I don't think you need to fall to know how to pick yourself back up. I think you need to fall to know how you heal.
Ooh.
I think people know how to pick themselves up. I think people also know when you jump off a building, you're jumping off a building. There's certain things you don't need to try to know the outcome or to know the path. But I do think there's some things you do have to try to learn something new, whether it's about the scenario or about yourself. So that's how I feel about that, because I've heard that a million times. And growing up, my parents are always like, just dust yourself off. You learn how to get yourself up. I'm like, I know how to get myself up. I know I can move on I know I can carry on, but it's fucking bitter. The process stings. It's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wound. It's an ego crushing process, you know, blah, 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 blah. So I think for me, what is more specific about falling, what you get out of it specifically is you learn how you heal or how you're enabled to heal.
Oh, I love, like, thank you for adding a spin to that. I feel like we're so used to hearing that over and over and over. And what a great, again, what a positive way, or what a personalized, positive way to put to it, right? Let's learn from it. Let's make it better. How do we, like, it's so quintessential Maddox.
But wait,
Yeah.
here's what I think.
but it's almost like here's my experience on it, and here's how I've learned from it, as opposed to here's what I think. You've never, I mean, I feel like I've given you many opportunities to say that, and you've never said that. You've always been like, here, like, you always take it from your perspective and you share. Again, it's such a quintessential Maddox way. What would you tell, so I'm going to use the Oprah question, what would you tell a younger Maddox?
Oh, I recently did this for an interview that I did.
Ooh.
And oh man, it got me so teary. So I'm going to try it sans tears today.
Okay.
And it also depends which younger me, because if it were teenage me, I would just slap myself and walk away. Like, snap out of it, asshole. I mean, if I were to look at like a child me, what I said in that interview, I stand behind it. I would tell my younger self, as that kid on that laminate floor in our apartment with cockroaches, because I would be on that floor drawing pictures on the printer paper with the markers that my dad brought home from his office secretly, because we didn't have money for art supplies and extra things like that. Both my parents worked 2 jobs. So I'd be on the floor drawing while my grandmother or my aunt would be babysitting me. I would whisper into that little kid's ear, A, beautiful. That looks great. Keep going. B, you are so good at that. Where do you see this? Where do you get this from? And keep going, because the world needs to see more of what you see and how you see it. And also, you are so special. Everyone is special. And you are too. You are so special. Just remember that. Everyone's different in their own way, and they're all special in their own way, you included. And that's great. Show them how you're special. Just, you know, all that reaffirming stuff that, like, you are different. You're going to remember you're different. You're going to be told you're different. It's going to be in your face your whole life, just not in so many words. Like, and that is fine. That's really okay. And however you interpret things and see things, keep sharing it, keep expressing it. For whoever is watching out there or listening out there, other people will appreciate it, just the same way you appreciate other things that other people have put out into the world, you know? So that's what I would say.
Oh my God, like, I love it. I feel like my inner little brown boy at that age was like hugging, like, those are such great words. I think any younger people out there who are hearing this, like, yeah, you know, like, so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's such a deep, intimate moment, and I love it. It's such a, yeah. Like, you'd make a great, like, you're gonna make it, like, if you choose to have kids, you'd make a great dad. It's such a great thing to tell I feel like just to anybody in general, but to tell a younger child.
I've always thought about that. Like, I mean, I've always wanted kids, but I've always kind of asked myself or tried to picture, like, when I do get there, what kind of dad am I gonna be? When I know what I think I'd like to be, but what am I really gonna be? Because I always thought I would be a certain way growing up. I'm like, I'm never gonna be like this, that, and that, because that's how mom was. This, that, and that, because that's how dad was. And there are moments, I swear, all you Gen Zs, you will find yourself one day and go, did I just say that? That was so mom. Like, or that was so, you know, like, you think you won't be like them, and then it'll smack you in the face one day, and it'll drive you to drink.
So, I mean, Farah and I do this. So Mrs. Farah and I do it all the time, right? Like, we're so conscious about. We were younger, not being our parents, but now that we've become our parents in different ways, how do we elevate the game right? So like, I think you have to just give into the fact, okay, we're going to be like them. But how, we are, as children of immigrant parents, we're a little luckier because we have a little extra edge to move it forward and then not repeat some of those things that maybe we think were mistakes or choices that they made because they didn't have options, or they didn't think they had options because they came into a new world with new learnings.
Well, and here's what I think about that too. Like, things that I used to think were my parents' mistakes or character flaws or downfalls or whatever, now I regard them as just things that didn't work for me as their kid.
Right.
They might have worked for my brother. They may have worked for another kid. And I kind of equate that to managing people. You know, if you manage a team, everyone requires a different managing style. Not everyone responds to the same style or the same type of communication or validation or whatever. So parenting, there is no rules. You know, there is no rule book. There is no right or wrong. You just shoot in the dark and do the best you can, and whatever your kid responds to is what they respond to. And like, now that I feel that way about things, now that I see it that way, I could not be more empathetic and grateful for all those years that my parents must have been like, what do I do with this crazy child? Like, whose kid is this? You know, he's wearing a jumpsuit cut with a plunging neckline down to his crotch, his pubes, just because he saw Mel B wearing that at the Brits. Or like, you know, like the shit that I've put them through over the years, I'm just like, they really did the best they could. They did not see this coming, and I don't know how they even have hair on their head still.
I mean, good genetics, obviously. I love what you just said, though. I feel like we forget, like, now as I'm doing this podcast, I have to go back to being like, my parents were also humans. As I was figuring things out, they were figuring things out. And they come from a templated model. So they weren't expecting, or they didn't, we're in a generation where gaze out. Like, you get to be who you are. Like, for them, they were like, oh my God, I didn't anticipate that. Even like, I see my sister with her child. There's things you think you anticipate, and there's things you can't, because this is a human in front of you, growing, evolving, that you may have some things that would work for someone else's child or worked for this person, but doesn't work for your child. So, and learning a new thing is always challenging. You are bound to make mistakes. So guys, give your parents a break. They made some mistakes.
Yeah, mistakes, or just simply, you're going to shoot some blanks.
Right.
You're going to make some action. You're going to action some things. You're going to make some attempts at things that are ineffective. They're not always mistakes. They're just ineffective.
Thank you. Yeah, no, you're right. They're not. They did the best they could at that time with the knowledge that they had. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, I mean, shout out to our parents for that.
Yeah, every parent.
Yeah, actually, you're right. I parent at every stage. Like, thank you for doing the work you did. I guess the best way to say it. Let's talk some creative new projects in 2020. Sound bites. Let's talk about sound bites. You created a thing called sound bites on Instagram, where you
podcast knockoff.
But it was a variation of a podcast, right? Like, it's a Maddox twist on it. How did you tell me how that came about?
I actually had the idea to do one in 2018, in the summer of 2018. I had been really, really thinking about it, because not that I'm into podcasts, believe it or not, I don't listen to any. Yours is actually the only one, and Goop. Goop would be the only other one.
So me and Gwyneth Paltrow?
Listen to that one, though. But I don't actually follow podcasts. It's not that I don't enjoy them. I also just feel like, I don't know, it's never really resonated with me, so I don't know what possessed me to create one. I think I just really realized one morning, I was hanging out with a friend. I think we were in their car, we were driving somewhere, and I thought, holy shit, the stuff we talk about, the things I talk to my friends about, sometimes there are moments that are just golden, and I wish I had it in a recording to share, because we're our most honest and uninhibited when we're just shooting the shit, you know, like, and just talking about anything. So that kind of gave me the idea, and I talked about it, thought about it, hummed and hawed, and finally, in 2020, when we were locked down full force, I was like, what do I got to lose? Let's just freaking do it. And I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to just experiment. And so I did. And the whole concept behind it is just, I want to keep it short and sweet. It's under 10 minutes, and it's always conversations with my friends or colleagues or some form of a professional in some realm, whether it be wellness or fitness or whatever I'm into at the time.
Right.
We just explore something in like a micro scope, because it's got to be under 10 minutes. And in a way, it's very interesting to see how much information you can pull out of someone in under 10 minutes. But reversely, it's also really interesting to see how much information you can put out in under 10 minutes. That's worth anyone listening to.
I mean, I'm grateful that you put it out in the world, and it's nice to sort of like, I wait Monday mornings. I'm an early riser, so I get up in the morning. I'm like, great, news, Maddox podcast. Because I get to like, it's just nice to see you interact with other people, and it's so true and honest to who you are. It's fucking timer.
Wow, time flies.
So thank you for that. So in spirit of vulnerability, I'm gonna share my sketch.
Ooh, I love these brows. And look at, you got the scruff. I wish I had lips like those. Thank you.
I think you do have lips like this.
I do not.
I mean, I'm obsessed with lips.
I love that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
No, I really love that. I would not blow smoke up your ass. It's awesome.
Okay, I mean, you could if you wanted to. No.
But I won't.
No, don't. Thank you.
Nah.
Thank you. So we're going to end with something a rapid question to you. I'm going to ask you, what are you going to hope for 2020 for yourself? 2021. Oh my God, what are you hoping for to bring into 2021?
I hope to continue on this journey that I started in 2020 of more self-realization, more self-care, listening to myself, whether it's like, do I need to start working out, or do I just feel the pressure to work out? Do I want to eat better, or do I feel the pressure to eat better? Do I want to take a course to better myself, or do I have nothing to do with my time? Or I just want to listen to myself more and less to the voices coming at me from the world.
Well, that's beautiful. I think like the silver lining of the pandemic is that it's allowed people to do this kind of stuff, right? And I wish those things for you. And I'm so excited we got this opportunity. One, I'm so thankful for your friendship. Two, I'm excited we got this opportunity. We got to create, be, and put out in the world. Yeah. I love you. Thank you. Mwah. Oh my God, I should wrap it up the way I normally wrap it up, I guess, right?
I was going to be like, where are the words?
All right. To wrap things up, we're going to do a rapid round fire. I'm going to throw one word at you. You throw one word back at me. Creativity.
Journey.
Gay.
Me.
Femme.
Me.
Friendship.
Us.
2021.
Can't wait for 2022. The year before 2022.
All right. Thank you to everybody for taking time off your busy schedule to tune into as Maddox and I keep you together until. Oh my God! Wishing everybody an amazing New Year's. I hope your hearts are filled with all the joy, and we'll see you guys all in 2021. Bye.